Alrighty, so we're in step 5 of developing the Angular code to subscribe to data. So we have our class product list component. We have a field here for products, our product array. We have this constructor that also has a dependency on product service. So that is injected by making use of the private product service. This constructor allows us to inject that given component. And then we make use of the ng on init. So this is like a post construct. This is called once the given component has been initialized. We call this.listProducts. And then the real work happens here in this listProducts method. So here we say this.productService.getProductList.subscribe. So once we subscribe, that'll actually invoke that method. And it's going to invoke the method in an asynchronous fashion. So this method will kind of run in the background. Once all that data has been retrieved or returned, then we assign that data here to our array of products. So here I have this.products equals data. So that's the data that came back from that given service via that REST API. All right, so now that we have the data, then we can display the data in an HTML page. So my page here, I simply make use of the ng-for. I say let temp product of products, and then I simply display the product name and then the product unit price. I pipe it through my currency pipe to display the information using the US dollar symbols here. And so if everything works out as desired, then we'll have this given output: JavaScript, Spring Framework, so on and so forth. So just a very basic page. We can make it pretty by putting it into an HTML table, putting it into a big web template. But right now we're just trying to get the functionality of having our Angular front-end code make a call to the back-end Spring Boot code. So hold your horses here. This code will not work because there's one more thing that we need to do here. So in step 7, we need to add cross-origin support to Spring Boot. Web browsers will not allow script code to call APIs that are not on the same origin. This is known as the same origin policy. So basically the browser will have a security issue with any calls that you attempt to make that are not on the same origin. So you may wonder, well, what is the same origin here? So same origin is composed of the schema protocol, hostname, port number. So even if you're on the same machine and you have two apps running on different ports, those are not considered the same origin. So you have to make some additional configurations here to allow this communication to go back and forth. Now, this same origin policy only applies to scripts running in a web browser. All right, because you're probably wondering, well, we could access REST APIs using a browser or using Postman. What's the big deal here? This is for JavaScript code that's running in a web browser. So that's the restriction: JavaScript in a browser. But we can relax this security piece by adding the cross-origin resource sharing support, or CORS. And so we can make this modification on our server-side application. We can make this mod on our Spring Boot application. Alrighty, so let's add cross-origin support to our Spring Boot application. So in your Spring Boot application, you'll add an annotation to your REST API. So in our case, we're using Spring Data REST with Spring Data JPA. So here we simply add this to our product repository. We say add cross-origin, and we give the origins that are allowed. Now remember, this is only for JavaScript code that's running in a browser. Remember, earlier we could access all of this stuff via a browser or via Postman. This will basically allow JavaScript code running on localhost 4200 to make a call to our given REST API. All right, so that's the one example there. One thing you may wonder, well, I have multiple servers. How can I do that? No problem. You can simply say add cross origin, and you simply give a comma delimited list of origins where you have JavaScript code running that needs to call your given application. And then you may say, well, gosh, this is just too much. I have a lot of servers, or I really don't care who calls my given REST API. I'd like for them to be able to use it in some JavaScript code running in a web browser somewhere. Easy, no problem. In that case, you simply just give add cross origin, and that's it. So by default, this is a wildcard. It'll allow access from any website. Alrighty, so this is all some really good stuff. We'll move into the IDE and we'll walk through this development process, and we'll start writing the code. So I'll see you in the next video. Yo.